about 7:05. We're going to begin our meeting of the Falls Township Board of Supervisors. We start every meeting with the salute to the flag, so please rise. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Poland, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Zepka?
Here.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents?
Here.
Mr. Snipes?
Here.
Hey, thank you. A very straightforward agenda this evening. I want to begin by recognizing Keir Owens from Boy Scout Troop 102, who is here working on his citizenship in the community merit badge. Keir, welcome. Item number 1 on our agenda this evening is to consider purchase of tasers for the police department. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the police department has provided a quote for the purchase of 5 tasers. This quote is from the Whitmer Public Safety Group in the amount of $3,924.75. The board is asked to consider this purchase. In addition, Sergeant White from the Falls Township Police Department is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, Sergeant, if you don't mind, just giving us an idea of why I think a lot of us know what tasers are. I think there was an incident last year at the Phillies game that made them pretty well known. But as a police officer, what's the value of having a taser?
The value of a taser is they're a less lethal weapon. They're one of several different types that the police department has. But it's just an extra tool that allows us to settle situations with combative subjects in a way that is least likely to cause injury to them or us.
Okay, and obviously the police officers are trained in how to use them properly and everything else.
That's correct. Currently, our whole entire patrol division is trained and certified to use the tasers.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for either Sergeant White or Mr. Gray? Mr. Zipka?
And what we're looking to do is to buy 5 a year until we're completely completely outfitted for everyone.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
You had me when you said taser. I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
No questions.
And I have none. Mr. Gray, this amount, $3,924.75, this is off of like a CoStars, is that correct?
No, it's not. It's a direct quote from the organization. It's under $4,000, so we didn't get 3 quotes.
Okay, that's right. I apologize. And this money was budgeted for?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The Whitmer Group, who we purchased them from last year, is on the CoStars list. So
Okay.
they have an active CoStars contract for these, but Mr. Gray is correct. Since it was under $4,000, we didn't need to go through the CoStars process, but they are on the CoStars list.
Right, okay. Mr. Dents wants to know if Mr. Gray is going to take part in a demonstration of how the tasers work. Yeah.
Not tonight.
Hey, any public comment? I see no hands. Okay, the looking to purchase then the 5 tasers from the Whitmer Public Safety Group in the amount of $3,924.75. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Miss. I'll second it.
Motion made by Mrs. Wisłowski, seconded by Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Poland, call the roll, please.
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant. Next item on our agenda is consider authorizing advertisement of the amendment to Chapter 203.24 Vehicles and Traffic Special Purpose Parking Zones for the Quaker Penn Park Boat Ramp Parking Lot. Mr. Gray?
Yes, this is just for authorizing advertisement tonight. This is an amendment to Chapter 203, Section 24. This shall be amended to include all vehicles and/or trailers must park in the designated parking spots at the Quaker Penn Boat Ramp parking lot. It further discusses the fees. Also, it discusses that a receipt of payment of the parking fee must be clearly displayed on the dashboard of the vehicle, and/or a daily or seasonal pass must be affixed to the rear view mirror of the vehicle. The board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement for this item.
Okay, basically, in order for our police department to enforce parking violations, there has to be a very clear ordinance as to this area where the parking lot is, the fees, et cetera, so that if you violate that parking rule in that specific area, you can be cited. One of the things I was looking at with this and talking with the solicitor earlier about, it does give the rates for this year. Falls Township residents, $10 per day, and you can come here and get the pass. For non-residents, if you know, or if you're just going down to the kiosk, which is operational, I believe, Mr. Gray, or is going in today.
The kiosk is being set up today. It should be ready to go. It's been changed to Friday, not tomorrow, but Friday.
Okay. If you're going there, it's going to cost you $20 for the day. We talked a little about residents being able to come here, show proof of the receipt, show proof of residence, and you'd be able to get a $10 refund. But this year, the seasonal pass was $50 for residents, $100 for non-residents, because we opened the ramp partway through the season. Next year, we're most likely going back to the $75 for the whole season, April to October, $150 for non-residents, April to October. The $75 for season would be for Falls residents. But that 2012 rate is not in this ordinance as it's drafted, which means that we may have to go back in January and sort of alter this ordinance to accommodate that rate change. Would we rather just write it in there now and say, effective January 2012, the rates will be $75 for Falls residents, $150 for non-residents for a seasonal parking pass, until such time as the board sees fit to change it. We can do that now and advertise it, in which case it'll be done, or we could...
Just do it now, then.
Yeah, makes sense to do it now, I think. Okay, so Mr. Clark, we can make that change?
Certainly can.
Okay. All right, comments or questions regarding, again, we're just authorizing advertisement right now, and we'll come back to this next month to approve it if we feel it's warranted. Comments or questions regarding this advertisement? Mr. Zipka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Since I certainly don't favor the project, I'm not going to aid and abet it. We have a lot better things that we could waste our money on.
Mr. Snipes?
No questions. I'm in support. I think we've done a great thing for the community with the boat
You
ramp,
would.
and I hope we'll work through these final pieces we have to do, and then it'll be set.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No questions or comments.
Okay, it's advertisement only. Public comment, see one hand for public comment. Motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Dell?
I have one question. I know it's a little bit off of the advertising, but I had a couple people come up to me and mention that when they put their boat in this boat ramp, the water's so shallow they're hitting their props and breaking their props off their boat. They're saying they have to basically get off and float their boats out and around because the water's only 18 inches deep. And I didn't know how that problem arose, or if you guys are aware of this issue.
We are. Mr. Sullivan, you want to address that?
I'm not aware of anyone breaking the prop off their boat. We did hear a concern in an email that a couple boats came in at dead low tide and scratched the bottom of the channel, but that has been corrected. The contractor went back and actually did some more dredging right near the boat ramp, right near where the ramp ends,
Okay.
which is where the problem was.
Yes.
We think it's been rectified, and that's something that we're going to have to do every year is check the dredging, and we have a permit to allow us to dredge for the next 10 years.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Are you guys capable of going there every year and taking an excavator and sort of scraping that out and getting rid of it, or do you have to go through the permit process every single time?
We have an ongoing maintenance dredging permit where I think it's good for 10 years.
Okay. And the other question was the 2 meetings ago was like $450 a month for that camera for the kiosk. Have you found any other quotes or prices for that?
Now, the 450, one of the last meeting, I guess, is when we approved it. What we determined, it was, number one, it was for running the line and also for the charge, but the 450 a month was essentially paying for the running of that line. They're going to have to trench a lot. They were going to have to string it through the air. So it wasn't just the rental fee for using the broadband. It was actually the labor of actually stringing that line out that we're paying for. And
Is that a one-time fee, or price go down following years? Or?
Well, after
Yeah, 2 years.
yeah, after
2 years?
2 years, basically, just at that point, we will have paid off the actual.
What's it drop to
Construction
after you pay for the trenching and labor for that? What's the monthly cost go to?
What, after 2 years?
Yeah.
Well, it would be.
If you get a
It would
new
be
contract.
yeah, we have to get a new contract.
Okay.
Yeah, it would just be for the signal at that point.
$449.
Yeah,
Okay.
could be.
Is it Verizon who's doing the line?
That's why I was under the assumption it was
Verizon
Verizon.
did the line, yes.
Okay, because I have witnessed Comcast run lines for businesses free of charge throughout the years I've been on this board, and I want to make note of that. I hope it appears in the minutes.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? See no hands or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we're looking to,
No.
no on closing public comment, okay? We're looking to, for a motion to authorize advertisement of the amendment to Chapter 203, Section 24 regarding the parking spaces down at the Quaker Penn Boat Ramp. Is there a motion to advertise as amended?
Yes, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, item 3 on our agenda is to consider adoption of a code amendment to Chapter 209 zoning, Table 1, single-family detached dwelling by district. Board members and residents will remember this was the change to the zoning made by Mr. Bennett over a long period of time, which with regards to most of the Nottingham section. Kind of taking it back to what it was before. There was a zoning change a few years ago that created some problems down there. This would be changing it back to what it was before. Mr. Gray, need to add anything?
This did go before the board for authorization to advertise at the June 7th meeting, and Mr. Bennett is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Bennett or for Mr. Gray? Mr. Zipka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, I believe at our last meeting, or the June meeting, we did have some residents from the community here, or at least some of us have talked to some of them, and they really feel like this is addressing the issues they had. That's correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay, and I have none. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, this would be ordinance 11-4. 11-4. Okay, is there a motion to adopt ordinance 11-4, amendment to Chapter 209, Table 1, single-family detached dwelling by district?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, item number 4 is consider authorizing advertising of bids for the Falls Township Senior Center addition and site work. Mr. Gray?
Yes. The board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement for the Falls Township Senior Center addition and site work. Bid specifications will be completed by T&M engineers. At this time, the board is asked to consider authorization to advertise.
Okay. All right, I know there's some people in the, from the Senior Center who are here this evening. I know we've had a lot of public comment about this. Mr. Sullivan, if you can just give us an idea of what exactly the addition will entail. I know a couple of years ago there was a pretty grandiose plan largely put together by the former manager that included a ballroom and a whole lot of other things. I know we've scaled that down with the help of a lot of the people at the Senior Center, a lot of input from them. What exactly is this addition entail for this project?
Yes, we have scaled down the project considerably. It is in addition to the existing building on the right-hand side as you're facing the building. It's 4,616 square feet, basically a rectangle about 30 feet wide, about 150 feet long. There's a corridor to allow access to 4 rooms, all of about the same size. They are identified as a thrift shop, meeting room, exercise classroom, and a learning center. There is a partition between the meeting and exercise classrooms that can be opened up and make that one large space. There's 2 new bathroom facilities. There's an enclosed glassed-in porch in the front where operating windows can be opened and they have breeze blow through there at any time. It's going to have a flat roof over the new addition with the HVAC on top of the roof. And as you said, we spent several meetings with the Senior Citizens Board finding out exactly what they wanted, and this is, as far as I know, exactly what they wanted.
Okay. All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Again, this is authorizing advertisement so that we can put this out to bid to see, hopefully find a contractor that can do this work.
May
Comments or
we hear from the
questions?
people from the senior center first before we do this?
Well, I was going to ask for board comment first, then we'll turn it over to public comment if there's anybody that has any.
I'd like to hear what the seniors have to say. I'm an honorary member there. I don't know if you ladies know that or not. Probably the only one, I'm told. That's because I sued Danhurst Corporation for all the stuff we're enjoying now.
Is there a motion to open public comment? First off, is there any public comment?
Sorry.
Anybody interested in public comment? See no hands.
You're here
Okay.
to support it. Is that it? Show your hands. Thank you, ladies.
Okay. And gentlemen?
I can't see that far, so if there's a gentleman there, I can't see.
Mr. Peters is there.
Thank you, Mr. Pedros. My vision is getting so bad I can't even drive at night anymore.
Okay, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
Yes, this is just for advertising. This will give us an idea of how much this whole project is going to cost the bottom line.
Yes.
Is that correct? Even though I'm not, I don't really like the location, but, yeah, this is just for advertisement only. You know, let's move forward with it.
Okay. Mrs. Wisłowski?
I certainly don't like the location. I thought we could have had a much nicer building at a more safe location. It would be large, and I would have loved to have seen it go in the old Pathmark building. I still think that's the most ideal place. And if we bought that and took the money that we're using to renovate this building, I think we'd have something that the entire community could use. The young people, it would be a community center for everyone. I'm going to support this because it seems that the money I brought into the township is destined to be used against my wishes in most of the projects.
Mr. Snipes?
Mr. Sullivan, on the question of the roof, the flat roof design, is that to meet the present design of the building, or is that your recommendation for the best kind of roof?
Well, the existing roof is basically a gable roof, but the addition is not on the gable end. It's on the lower end. So it would be difficult to try to put a pitched roof in either direction on the addition because of that. So the old roof will drain toward the new roof, and that has the usual flat roof scuppers that collect the drain water and allow it to discharge into the ground.
I just say because I'm a little experienced with flat roofs that seem to develop a lot of problems over time. You feel like the technology is good enough that this roof is not going to have water pool and leak.
Well, it's certainly better not having water pooling or leaking. It's a built-up roof, very similar to the one on this building.
Haven't we had trouble with the roof on this building?
That was replaced after many years of service. I'm trying to say.
Okay, well, I guess it is what it is at this point, so thank you.
Mr. Dents?
This project's something we've been talking about as long as I've been on this board, and it's nice to see it finally moving forward, so that's all I have.
Yeah, I agree. It's been too many years of trying to get exactly what needed to be done down there, and there was some issues with at the senior center getting sort of input from the right people. I think was necessary, and we got that now, and I think it's I'm glad to see it moving forward. So I don't have any comments or questions. I'm going to thank the people who are here this evening and thank them for the work that they put into this, Mr. Petras and all the other members of the board who are here and not here, as well as Mr. Sullivan and his company for all the work they've done. All right then, is there a motion to authorize advertisement for the Falls Township Senior Center?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay.
Woo, unanimous.
All right.
This is a show.
Item 5, consider authorizing advertisement of bids for the parking area expansion at the Falls Township Community Park. Mr. Gray.
Yes, the board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement for the parking area expansion at the Falls Township Community Park. Bid specifications will be completed by T&M Engineers. At this time, the board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement.
All right, we're looking to put new parking spaces, as you said, specifically near the skateboard park, which has been very popular, as well as the dog park, which has also been very popular. And on that side of the park, there's a lot of parking near the playground, which tends to fill up very quickly. And there's a little bit of parking over near the skateboard park, but we need to add some in there. Comments or questions regarding, we approved several months ago Mr. Sullivan's proposal to do this work, and so now we're looking to go out to bid on it. We're going to try and fit Mr. Sullivan with as many spaces as we can get, basically, correct?
At this point, we have approximately 18 new spaces over by the basketball courts and the roller rink. We lose 5 existing spaces, so it's a net 13 over there. And we can put as many as 33 from where we have some of the off-lane parking all the way across the front of the skate park. So depending on what the budget allows us, we can put as many as 51 spaces down there.
Okay. Does this be paving or stone or?
It'll all be paved.
Paved, okay.
Yes.
All right. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Gray regarding this project? Mr. Zipka?
Mr. Sullivan, this is going to be across the road from where the skateboard park is. So you have the parking on the one side, the road, and this will be on the opposite side.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
I've been around long enough to see that we don't plan right to begin with. A good example is the park right across from the Legion in the fire hall in Fosington, where we have beautiful park, a memorial park, and no place for people to park cars. They park on my land, in my front yard, in my parking lot, in my driveway, for every occasion there, even something as small as a wedding being performed in the gazebo. And I dread some of the plans that I see being made. I know enough about construction and carpentry work to try to warn when things are not being planned right, but it falls on deaf ears, and the result is wasted money that we could use for a good purpose.
Mr. Snipes?
So what is our calculation about how many spaces we really do need? And how do we go about doing that?
I think we're operating mostly off reports we get from the Park and Rec security in terms of people parking on the grass and you know, going through there. If you, I know Mr. Dents is there quite a bit. I get over there every once in a while. It gets pretty crowded, especially on that side where there's less parking and where we've added things that have become very popular. The skateboard park is very popular, and so a lot of people are coming. The roller skating rink, I think there used to be a league there. I don't know if there's still a league that does roller hockey there or not. There is, so that's very crowded. That's very crowded, and plus the dog park. That's the closest parking to the dog park, and so that's very popular.
Yeah, Mr.
So
Chairman.
we've added features that have increased popularity, and there isn't parking for them.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
It really, it changes, it can be the time of the day, it can be
Sure.
schools are in, schools are out. My wife and I go over there and walk a fair amount early in the morning. Some mornings, it's actually, most of the parking spots are, so they start close to where the two parks come together, or the two halves come together, and they'll work all the way down. And some days, even when the weather doesn't seem so nice, there's still a fair amount of people there. So it's just it's not just the skateboard park; it's what people are there using it for, whether it's exercises or just as it fills up. So it's
Sure.
something we need.
Yeah, it's a very, very popular feature. It's probably one of the most popular features in the entire township. And I think really we're just looking at these are the two places where we can put parking. I don't know. After this, I'm not sure there are a whole lot of other areas we have where we can put parking. This is pretty much it.
So I guess we need to balance how many parking spaces we need as opposed to the desire to keep the park feeling like a park and not paving the
Right.
not paving the whole thing.
Right.
I'm also wondering, Mr. Sullivan, any issues if we went for the full, what did you say, 50 parking spaces that we could fit? Are we going to, what was it?
Well, it's 33 on one side and what, 18 on the other?
20 on one side and 30.
33 and 18.
Do we
33.
run into any issues of water drainage or the water runoff from this expanded parking space?
No, not at all.
You don't think so? Okay. Okay, so I would think some way we need to determine, yeah, obviously how many we're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how we do that, but
Well, I think we're just going to do as many as we can fit and as many as the budget allows us to do. And we'll see when the bids come in, how many spaces, someone who's going to, I guess, do the maximum.
All right, based on the estimate we come up with, we'll probably have an alternate. And if we can do more spaces, we will.
Okay.
okay, that's it.
Mr. Dents?
No, my questions have been answered.
Okay, I don't have any either. All right, again, we're authorizing advertisement for this project. Is there a public comment? One hand, motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Why aren't we doing this in-house? Why are we subbing this out?
Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Gray, why is Public Works not putting in the parking spaces? Either one of you, doesn't matter.
I'm not sure if I don't believe we have a full-size paver, Public Works Department.
What, do we have a paver though, don't we?
No.
We don't have a paver?
We may used to have had a paver. I know we got rid of it. Yeah. You might have.
I mean, don't you think with the amount of blacktop we have in this township, it might justify the purchase of a paving machine? I mean, this is the kind of work that our guys have all the other equipment except for the paving machine to do. And by the time you do projects like this, you have paid for the paving machine. I mean, not to give these guys more work, but I know they're busy, but this is the exact kind of project that...
This is a pretty big job for them to be paving the parking spots, 35 parking spots.
It's not, I mean...
Clearing the ground, too, and doing the site work and everything else.
Yeah, we have giant loaders. We have all the equipment to do this job. I just wasn't sure why we were subbing it out. I thought we had a paver. I could have swore I saw that we had one, but maybe it was someone else's.
No, we used to, and we got rid of it for whatever reason.
Speaking to Mr. O'Neill many times, this is, they do a mill and overlay project.
Yeah.
But if it gets to be any size at all, it's part of the road program.
Okay.
I think this job is big enough that we should have it subbed out to a contractor. They don't have the kind of time, because like you said, they're very busy.
Yeah.
I don't really think they have the time to do this kind of project.
Okay. All right, and the other question I had is across from the skateboard park, does it go up to the wood line, or is it pretty flat to the wood line?
It's pretty flat.
Yeah.
Is it pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a slight slope, but it's not.
There is
I
a
didn't know if
slight-
there's-
there is a slight grade to it, but it's not. It's
I didn't know if
not
we're gonna
much.
stay
The
with
water
the-
will flow down.
Like the terrain, or you're going to have to cut in a retaining wall? I just wasn't sure if we were just going to sort of go follow the ground
It's
and...
a question for the Mr. So just following the
Yeah, we're
ground.
just going to follow it. There's no retaining walls
Okay.
proposed for this, yeah.
All right, thank you.
If you came in off a wheat sheaf and you came to the left and started around, that's right where you're going to start there. And
Yeah, right where the existing parking is, we'll
just keep extending that as far
Yeah,
around as you can.
Exactly.
Not necessarily all the way to across from the skateboard park?
All the way across the skateboard park if the budget allows, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other public comment needed? See no hands, or a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, is there a motion to authorize advertisement of bids for the parking area expansion at the community park?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Weslavsky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, next item on our agenda is engineering services for the Babe Ruth baseball field at Quaker Penn Park. Board members will remember, and members of the public, if I guess it was maybe a year ago, that became an issue with especially Farrell Hills Athletic Association not having, specifically not having a field, and going into discussions with members of other Little League organizations in the township, especially fields for bigger kids, was a real shortage of. And so this was something that we looked at, trying to find an area where we could fit a large baseball field. Essentially something on the size of almost like Pennsbury High School's baseball field for the older kids. You wonder if some of it comes out of the popularity coming out of the how successful the Phillies have been over the past few years, that a lot more kids are playing baseball and playing baseball to a much older age. This was, as we're building the boat ramp, it became apparent that there was an area right next to the soccer field that's still there, where this size baseball field could fit. And so what we're looking to do is to have the engineer do the work necessary to design and oversee the construction of that baseball field. And we'll try and get it done as soon as we can. I don't know if we can promise it's going to be ready by next spring, but we're going to do what we can to have it ready. And once it's ready, it'll be a Falls Township field open to the leagues, all 3 leagues here. Just like a lot of the fields we have, you reserve it through the Park and Rec Department so that there'd be a schedule and you wouldn't have people conflicting over different games, things like that. And Mr. Gray, I think I stole a lot of your thunder. If there's anything else you want to throw in there.
The township did receive a letter from Jim Sullivan at T&M Associates dated July 12th regarding the Babe Ruth Field. This was a proposal for engineering services at the Quaker Penn Park. The proposal was in the amount of $21,000. The board is asked to consider this proposal.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zipka?
Other than what might end up with, say, maybe a parking issue between the boat ramp in the same area and having the games there, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see too much ground disturbed. I mean, if the ball field, fine, but not start paving everything for, to handle it. So if you have a nice day and a lot of boaters are there, and then there's a game or a tournament going on, we have extra people coming in. That's the only fear I would have, but I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right. I think it's a valid concern. Mrs. Wisłowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Mr. Chairman, what do we think, what's our guess about what the total cost of the construction of the field will be?
Mr. Sullivan, we have an estimate right now. I know some of the site work has kind of been done by the firm that was doing the boat ramp. They did a little bit of work, but I don't know. I know there's more work that has to be done.
That's correct. Some of this work was done as part of the boat ramp work. Instead of building the grass bleachers, we tried to get ready for the baseball field. I think we're still looking in the neighborhood of, the budget's around $125,000 for the field.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's something to think about. Yeah, I'm in support of this. I think now that the boat ramp has gone in there, it's a great time to, there'll be more traffic there. That's kind of, be more of a hub in the community, so it makes sense to put the field there. And seeing as some work has already been done in conjunction with the boat ramp, it makes sense to continue doing the work. So
Right. Okay.
that's all.
Mr. Dents?
No questions or comments.
Okay. Is there any public comment needed? See one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Obert?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gallo Sobert. I was so glad you brought up the subject of the boat ramp inside of this Babe Ruth baseball field at Quaker Penn Park. I've heard a lot of noise about the road that is supposedly to go to the boat ramp, and I hear that nobody knows who owns the road. So I took a trip up to the Board of Assessments, and I got a map of the property there, and the 2 areas that we have.
Mr. Obert, you have to take the microphone with you if you go.
Okay, I'm sorry about it. The 2 areas that you have for that are right here, if I can, I don't know whether he can get that or not, are right here, and this little CR. And according to the map that I got from the Board of Assessments, there's no way to get to the small piece of property unless you cross over the other piece, which happens to belong to Waste Management. Now, if the road belongs to Waste Management, who's responsible for it? Maybe they'll see good and let you fix it, or maybe they'll see good and they'll fix it. But it seems to me that we spent a lot of money on the boat ramp and we didn't know who owned the road to get to it. Well, people that have a boat can get to it, but they got to go somewhere else to get in. So while you're laying out the field, Mr. Sullivan, maybe the board should consider citing and pegging the property. Put in monuments so we know where the property lines are if it seems to be a problem. I would like to see that done, and I'd like to see Mr. Sullivan figure out where the road's going to be and who's going to do it. There's an awful lot of people complaining about it, I understand. I haven't been down there yet. Some guy told me, he said, you don't want to go down there, you ruin your car. I don't think it's that bad, but it might be bad. So can I ask you guys to consider that and give that assignment to Mr. Sullivan?
We did find out the road, we've known for a little while now, the road's a PennDOT road.
It's PennDOT Road?
PennDOT road. We have talked to PennDOT. They recognize the fact that it is not in good condition, and they haven't really done anything with it. We're in the process of talking to PennDOT about acquiring that road. And the way we would acquire it, whatever work we put into it in terms of fixing it, they would actually reimburse us for all the work we put into fixing it.
Well, my understanding was that the PennDOT Road just ended before you got into it.
No.
Okay, and, well, that's what you hear on the street. So could we get a letter from PennDOT that says it's our road and we're in the midst of getting it deeded over to Falls Township?
Well,
Seeing that they have so much money, they can fix it, we won't.
Mr. Clark?
We're already in the process of doing that. When we determined that it was a PennDOT road, we were in contact with PennDOT. We're in the process of getting the paperwork together where they will deed the road over to us, obviously for no cost. We will then go out to bid. We will repair the road, and then PennDOT will reimburse us, and I don't have that file in front of me, but I think it's up to $250,000.
I think that's right.
Which is considerably higher than what Mr. Sullivan's estimate is to repair the road. So essentially, we'll be getting the road, and PennDOT will be paying for it to be repaired, so we'll be getting it and having it repaired at no cost to the township.
Can we take a look at the map on the other side? I think it may show the road goes onto the big piece of Waste Management's property. I'll take it with me this time.
None of the road that is in question is owned by Waste Management, and we've already had several conversations with those at Waste Management. They don't own any portion of the road that we will be using to access the boat ramp or any of the other facilities back there.
I understand what Mr. Clark is saying, but I also understand that the Board of Assessment doesn't show a road there belonging to anybody. It just shows property line.
Right.
So maybe we ought to get to update maps.
Board of Assessment most likely wouldn't have a PennDOT road showed as, because there would be no assessment on a piece of property that's owned by the Department of Transportation.
Okay.
The road that we have in question, I'll talk without it now. The road that we'll have in question comes from right here, all the way here, and crosses the berm. It's a berm that was put in there so that they could put pumps in this lagoon and pump the water from there into Van Sciver Lake. So I can't see PennDOT owning a road that, shall we say, doesn't exist, per se. All right, we'll see how long that takes. That's for sure. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dell?
Who has to maintain this field for the rest of its existence?
It's a Falls Town, well, the whole park's Falls Township Park. We maintain it all now already.
So, I mean, as far as the fields go, like the ball clubs do the diamonds and the inside of the field, and we just do the outside, or do we do the whole, we take care of the whole field from beginning to end?
It depends on, there's certain times, usually beginning of every season, the Public Works goes out and helps out with the different leagues, but for the most part, over the course of the season, it's the leagues that do most of the work.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. This field obviously wouldn't belong to just one league, so it would be more on our staff. I thought there was another hand somewhere. No? Okay. All right, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
No. I want to do public comment. I didn't have the opportunity to sign in.
Well, Mrs. Kozlowski, this is not public comment time. This is public comment on the ball field issue. So,
Something to say about the ball field.
Well, we'll close the public comment, and I can go to you. Motion to close public comment.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second, all right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, board comment regarding the field. Mrs. Kozlowski?
I have been wanting and trying to have fields done because When we do things for the children, I think that's what the government is supposed to be all about, and that's what I prefer to see our money spent on. And inasmuch as I am the one who brought in that money, you're the guys that are spending it. And you've done your best to try to discredit me, and the minutes tonight are a perfect example. You're going to see a lawsuit over the way you keep these minutes, Mr. Harvey, I guarantee you. My time on this board will finish on December 31st, and before that, you will be giving depositions on how you are handling a lot of the things in this township that I consider are illegal, and particularly your treatment of board members. A good example is not just the ball field. Now I'm going to digress into another thing. We had 3 college students who were employed, had been given a contract, an oral contract and a written contract by Bill Reese, our Parks and Recreation manager, or whatever you want to call him. I do not want him using stationery with my name on. I tried to get my own stationery printed. I think it's pretty bad when someone who brought $400 million into the township and $400,000 from General Motors can't even get less than $100 so that she can at least express her opinions without having to be married to some of these idiots that are doing things that are absolutely contrary to the law.
That's enough.
You're not going to gavel me out of order.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, no, you're not, because I can tell you that I investigated those 3
You've investigated nothing. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're sitting here scribbling notes about God knows what. You don't even know what issue we're on. You don't know what topic we're talking about.
Mr. Harvey.
You're completely off the reservation.
Mr. Harvey,
right?
you will not deny me my right to
You're not going to start
speak.
bad-mouthing. You're not going to bad-mouth public.
Bill Reese fired one of those kids.
All right, we're taking
and
a recess.
he put his own son.
Looking again at item number 6, which is consider
I'd like to be heard, Mr. Harvey.
Mrs. Kozlowski,
I would like the public to know that you turned down the meeting. You turned it off. You edit the meeting.
At a Babe Ruth baseball field, not your personal vendetta against township employees.
Oh, Mr. Harvey, if I had a vendetta, you'd have been dead a long time ago.
Thank you for. Yeah, I heard that you should have.
The public would have done something to you.
I'm sure.
I've held them off because I'm a good Christian.
Yes, I'm sure. You showed that tonight.
I showed you tonight because you fired someone who didn't deserve to be fired, and you brought a lawsuit into this township.
I haven't, actually, Mrs. Kozlowski.
And you didn't care enough to even interview those 3 kids. Every time he hits the gavel, that's the signal to turn the camera off. That's because you people at home aren't allowed to know what's really going on in this township.
Keep people focused on what's actually
I'm going
on
back
our
to
agenda.
find out whether or not he turned it off.
Enjoy. Item number 6 is the engineering services for the Babe Ruth baseball field. We're looking at $21,000 for the all the work, site work, and survey and maps, bid documents, as well as construction observation services. Is there a motion to award $21,000, not to exceed $21,000 proposal for the Babe Ruth baseball field to T&M Associates?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski? Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, next item on our agenda, item number 7 is consider authorizing Township Manager to finalize the bid award for the 2011 Road Improvement Program. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the 30-day responsible contractors period will be completed prior to the next Board of Supervisors meeting in August. In order to continue the process, I'm requesting the board to consider allowing me to finalize the award for the 2011 road program contingent upon a successful outcome of the engineer's responsible contractor's determination.
Okay. All right, so obviously trying to get the 2011 road program moving as quickly as possible. We don't want to wait for our next meeting to authorize that, so we'll authorize, and we've done this before, authorize a manager to award the bid pending the successful outcome of the engineer's determination. And I think most of the documents have come in. General Asphalt's done work for us before, so this is not a different kind of engineering, different kind of construction firm that we're not used to. Most of the forms have come in.
That's correct. And The review period actually, I think, ends on Saturday, so next Monday, Mr. Gray can finalize the award.
Okay, now we can start moving. Okay. Public or a board comment or questions regarding the item number 7. Mr. Zupko?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
We're talking about the road program.
Talk about consider authorizing the township manager to finalize the bids for the road program.
Yes, I have something to say about the road program. Mr. Sullivan, your employee, I believe his name is Steve, was covering for you while you were on vacation, and I know you need a vacation working for this township. But I had a problem with the road being closed and the plans to close Bordentown Road, and the businesses were contacting me. And I called your office, and I want to publicly commend you and your staff. They have always been very cooperative. And while I'm on that subject, they're meeting tonight. I don't know who does the scheduling, because that's a meeting that I would have wished to attend. They were talking about, the other road closings, and it's in conflict. It started tonight at the same time this meeting started. And Steve, your employee or your coworker, he had enough foresight to contact the business that was just upset over it, and he took the initiative to do that. I called him today, and I just have to commend you publicly for the way your office has stayed in touch with the people and have cared. And you only get compliments when you deserve them.
Okay, Mr. Snipes, comments or questions regarding, excuse me, the 2011 road program?
I don't think we should move forward.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Any public comment? See no hands. All right, is there a motion to authorize the township manager to finalize the bids for the 2011 road improvement program?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Item number 8 is public comment. 5-minute maximum per person, looking at 45-minute maximum for the entire agenda item, unless the board sees fit to extend it.
While we're waiting, I want my vote counted for when I was out of the room, verifying that Mr. Harvey had shut down the meeting, so that people viewing this meeting at home will not know what they missed, because anytime a subject is introduced that they don't want the public to know, he picks up the gavel, bangs the gavel, and that's when the tape gets turned off.
Okay. All right, first name on the agenda or in the list sign sheet is Roland Kenny.
Roland Kenny, Falls Township. At our last meeting, I asked you to do something about the speeding on Pennsylvania Avenue. And I would imagine Mr. Gray probably told Chief Wilcox about it, and he put one of them speed things to show your speed. I was out there a few days when I walked my neighbor's dog, and the cars come down, get near Avenue, and once they get near Avenue, they see that sign, and their brake lights do go on. So it did help a lot. And there's always that 5%, couldn't care if you had a cop right in the middle of the street, they still do it. And next, just talk a little about the boat ramp. I went down there 3 days before the boat ramp opened, me and a friend, and where the road to the left goes into Penn Manor, and that road goes straight, that belongs to PennDOT. If you remember Berlin when it got bombed, I'm telling you, it took me a half hour to get down there with my little car, man. And I just could feel a boat on the back of me. It'd probably be overturned. So that needs to get fixed.
To the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
Mr. Dell compared it to the surface of the moon.
Both accurate comparisons.
And then about Penn Manor, mostly all your places like Penn Manor, Washington's Crossing, all them, they're letting a lot of staff go because they don't have the money. And what really makes Penn Manor go is the volunteers. So if anybody has a few days or hours to spend and they want to volunteer, just show up at Penn Manor. They'll gladly put you to work. And all I can say is you'll go in with a smile and come home with a smile, because nobody pushes you. A young man in Walmart said, when are you going to get on the perverts? And I told him, if you ask a pervert, the only thing that'll stop them is a warning shot to the head. That's the only thing stops them. So don't worry about them. They'll be taken care of in time. If not in this earth, after they're gone, they'll pay. That's all. Have a nice night.
Mr. Kinney, real quick, I know you're obviously you're a volunteer. You've said that a lot of times at Penn Manor. Didn't they won a state award, didn't they, recently for the exhibit they have there?
Yes.
Yeah. I forget. I just remember reading it in the paper, but I remember going to the opening of that exhibit. It's very impressive. It really is.
Anything you ever want to learn about William Penn, that young lady, she spent 11 years on that, and she had to be let go.
Yeah, no, it's a shame.
It's a shame.
Yeah. But
so, you know, the economy picks up, we'll get them back, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Mariani.
On June 30th, I missed the opportunity to visit my money at the 1 million plus boat ramp, and apparently so did a lot of other folks who have been calling and requesting this boat ramp for years. I understand it was sparsely attended. I was making a settlement on 2 properties that day and moving into a new home that evening. But keep your seatbelts on. The new home is in Falls Township, because I think it's a well-managed township, and I happen to have a lot of confidence in your professionals. Now, whenever the subject of funding for questionable projects arises, there's always an emphasis that the taxpayer dollars are not funding, or that's not the funding source. And I think that's a deliberate attempt to leave the impression that those projects aren't funded by taxpayers, the taxpayers at Falls. Now, Mr. Chairman, you specifically, at the last meeting, and again, many times said that this boat ramp was not paid for with taxpayer money. It was paid for by host fees. And I want to remind this board, at least in my opinion, that the township income is derived from a lot of various sources. That includes direct taxes, licenses, fees, so on and so forth. And the point is, it's all income. And it's all Falls Township income, and it belongs to the Falls residents. So when you spend those dollars, regardless of the source that they came from, you are spending township income that belonged to Falls Township taxpayers. Now, the other point I want to make is just because the income that we have may exceed our present needs, it doesn't mean that that money has to be spent. And if you're a working guy and you take a paycheck at the end of the week, do you walk around giving it away? And if you don't, then you shouldn't allow your representatives to do that either. Now, I can think of more judicious uses for our income rather than what I consider to be a regional boat ramp, apparently whose cost just continues. It's always something else, something more that we need. Now it's a road. My friends from the senior center are here, but I would rather have seen that become a community center that they could enjoy rather than a senior center. And when we talk about the cost and people that are going to bid on this, our cost is limited to $814,000, not the $1.2 million that we have in our budget. Correct? Sure it is.
Possibly.
Well, the Community Development Block Grant is going to give us $385,000. So you add that to the 814 that I'm talking about, you have 1.2 million. I have a feeling we're going to exceed that and go to 1.2 million before we're done. Now, being aware of this board's sensitivity to residents' requests, because every time we get ready to do something, well, we're getting calls about that. People are requesting this, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm going to give you a request tonight, because you're so sensitive to these phone calls and so forth. I'm proposing that the future host fees be accumulated, I'm going to say this again, I've been saying this for years here, into a fund and invested in insured accounts or treasuries. These funds would never be available for expenditures for normal operations or to cover deficiencies in our budget process. You do that by raising taxes, and that puts a little bit of control on our spending. The purpose of this fund would be to provide perpetual income by way of dividends to be paid to all the Falls residents every single year. Any other use of these funds, even for a limited capital expenditure, should not be allowed unless the Falls Township residents agree to do that. Now, I want to thank you for listening to me tonight.
Okay, thank you. Andrew Dell?
I'll keep it brief. I just, not to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to have to say something every month I come here about the horrific condition of this building and the millions of dollars I see floating around back and forth, and nothing's getting spent on this building. It's a disgrace. Has been for years. I would like you guys to maybe come up with a plan to, even if you take $20,000 and set it aside for drywall, paint, fixing cracks, scraping the mold out of the hallway out there. I mean, it's for a township of this stature and this kind of money. You look at Middletown, Lower Makefield, beautiful buildings. You don't have to be the same, but it would be nice to be clean without drywall and paint hanging off the wall. So this is absolutely hideous. I know I brought it up before, but I still don't see the petri dish of mold on that wall out there. No one's even scraped that off yet, so it's still growing. And I didn't know if we could set something up where we get a contractor in here and just light construction, just fix the cracks and the falling drywall and the water damage and whatnot. And I didn't know your thoughts were on that.
No, I think I think certainly something our public works guys could handle, and certainly we can have Mr. Arneo take a look at that. Just so you know, the RFPs for renovations of the building are due in next Thursday?
Next Thursday, the 28th.
Okay, and there were a couple of engineering firms that have already, gotten the information. One's already taken a tour of the building.
To redo the building?
To redo the building, to take a look at ways to redo it. Without necessarily increasing the footprint of the building.
Correct.
Just what can we do with this?
With what you have.
Outside, inside, everything else.
Have we done the elevators yet?
Elevators done.
Fixed.
Elevators are all done?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I just wanted to bring up the facade of this building and the inside.
Yep.
It's just, it's looking rough.
Yep,
But
I agree.
thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Gallo Sobert?
I'm going to take these phones off because it's too much trouble. Just for a little fun, my father used to tell me, son, when you get out of the car, make sure you take your keys and turn the lights out. Well, I didn't turn the keys off, didn't take them, didn't turn the lights out. So I just got soaking wet. But then my mother told me a long time ago, son, play out in the rain makes your hair curly. Remember that one? You hear that? I did. But she didn't tell me it was going to make it fall out. That's the bad part. Okay. My topic for public comment is the senior center. And a couple of years ago, I was not as kind to the doing anything at the senior center because I didn't think they had enough attendance down there. Well, I joined the senior center. I'm allowed. At 55, you know that. You're allowed. Okay.
You just made it, right?
So I joined the senior center, and I get down there, and my God, I'm the oldest one there, for crying out loud. But anyway, a few years ago, the senior center went through some bad, tumultuous times. And they put in some new members, and they started moving, and it takes time. And the one that's had this lead for, I guess, 2 years now is Ms. Kay Woodward. Woodward, is that correct?
Crawford, yeah.
That's the way it goes. Anyway, she and that crew that she has turned that thing around 100%.
Yep.
I invite all of you to come on down, have a coffee and donut, shoot the breeze, have some fun, play a little shuffleboard. You know, remember when you used to go to the bar and play shuffleboard, and if you won, you got a drink, and by the time the night was out, you were half loaded. But come on down and have some fun and meet some good people. They're a good group. They're working their butt off very, very hard, and they deserve everything they get. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just, and I guess maybe for the record, I don't know how much alcohol is being consumed when they play shuffleboard at the senior center right now, but just don't want people showing up expecting something else. So, Ed Mathias.
Long time no see.
How are you?
Fine.
Ed Mathias, Falls resident. I'm here tonight on behalf of LBFFA, Lower Bucks Flag Football Association. I've been involved with the league for probably about 8 years now. My son plays on a tournament team, which they travel all over. We've been in Boston in June, won that tournament. We were just at the Wells Fargo Center 2 weeks ago, won that tournament. They're a very good group of kids. We have a tournament that we're sponsoring. It's coming up July 30th. My reason for being here was to see if we could possibly use a couple fields at Falls Township Park for that event. They're pretty much, they take care of everything. Basically, looking at like 2 fields, probably 70 yards by 30 yards. Probably the best place would be over where the soccer fields are. It'd be a good spot for us because of the bathrooms being there and just the location and all that. I did call the township and asked them. They told me with this the short notice, the best thing we'd do would probably be come here and see if something like that would be possible to do.
Yeah, I think obviously you have the field to be scheduled through Park and Rec.
Park and Rec Department.
Yeah, to call give Mr. Gray your phone number, and we'll have somebody from Park and Rec call you tomorrow morning and see what fields you need, what days you need them, and they can see if there's anything else scheduled. I think most of the soccer's out right now, so you won't have to worry about soccer. Yeah. I know there's a rugby league down there. I don't know when they practice, when they play, but yeah, we certainly can do that. The soccer field at Quaker Penn Park would be big enough for that too. If you didn't have enough fields there, you could always use that too. But yeah, I mean, Park and Rec would be the place to go to set that up. I'm not going to tell you when you can use it because I don't know what their schedule is. I don't know if they have it promised to somebody else. But sure, it'd be great. Now, how far away are the teams coming from for this?
Some of them, I think for this one, North Penn, Torresdale. I think there's a team coming up from Washington, D.C. Okay. But they come from all over. So
you've checked out the fields?
Yeah, they'd be fine.
And have you any that you prefer to use?
My opinion would probably be the soccer fields, only because, with all the kids there and stuff, closer to the bathrooms, you have they have breaks in between games, so, the pavilion's there, they can, get out of the sun if they have to, if it's hot.
How often do you need them, Mr. Mathias?
This is just the 30th. We do have a rain date set up for the 31st, if it does happen to rain on the 30th.
You
but it's
have
just
my support all the way. It's for kids, and I commend you for what you do for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, give Mr. Gray your name, your phone number. So for somewhere you can be reached tomorrow morning, let's say, and somebody from 8:30, office hours open 8:30.
8:30 to 4:30.
So somebody will call you tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
if you have a problem with your scheduling, please call me.
Okay.
We'll straighten it out.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure, absolutely. John Dukowitz, is that right? Did I do that right? Okay. Good, how are you?
Towards the nucleus. I'm a resident. I just moved back into Falls Township.
Can you make sure you speak into the microphone, please?
I'm a resident in Falls Township. I just moved back from Ben Salem.
Okay.
So I'm just stopping in to say hello to everybody, and hopefully everything works out fine.
All right. All right, welcome back.
Thank you.
You look like one of my canteen kids from 100 years ago, are you? Did you used to come to the dances for the kids? Well, sure. Now you're just a little bit too old for those.
Dorothy Kozlowski?
Yes. I'm sorry my scribbling annoyed you. I have got a lot of topics I want to talk about. Some I'll save for board comments, so you can't gavel me out of order. I do want to bring the citizens up to date on the 3 young Falls Township residents who came here to ask this board to look into the problem that they had working the summer recreation program. And I offered to meet with them that night, and I did. And I listened to their story. It's a personnel matter, so I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but I did call the labor attorney, Mr. Jordan Yeager from the Curtin and Hefner firm, and he was reluctant to talk to me, and I said, just a moment, you know, I happen to be your employer. I'm one of 5 board members for whom you work. But he can count, and he counts 3 and 2, and so he knows if or not I have votes here. But he surrendered the file when I told him that I meant to have it and would have it. So I then read the file. I concluded that 2 of the young people, even though they had a written contract and an oral contract, and you know that a contract is a contract even if it's a spoken word, as long as there's an offer made and an acceptance. And so I called the one fellow and asked him to come to my home and speak with me, and he was the one that concerned me the most. And I said, suppose you tell me what they gave as the probable cause. And there really wasn't any probable cause. There wasn't any explanation. That's why the 3 of them came here to ask their town council to look into the situation. And I saw no reason for the dismissal of this one young man. And it really jolted me when he explained to me that he had done everything that was possible to indicate that he was anxious to return to work. And then he said that our recreation director's son had been put in his position. And I never could get an answer on why that happened. And I know I'll get attacks, but I intend to stand my ground because I think that we may have a problem with litigation on that point. I'm not in contact with the young man anymore. I listened to him, I told him what I thought, and he spoke with his parents. And it's out there wherever it's going to be resolved. I protested because I was denied the right to have my own township stationery without the other people's names on. I do not want letters like what happened to that young man to be sent by anybody with my name on. There have been enough attempts to sully my good name, and 47 years they haven't been able to do it. They even did a phony lawsuit, and I resolved that by suing the lawyer that represented me and screwed up the suit. I can't tell you how much they had to pay me, or I have to give the money back. And it looks like we're headed for litigation again because Mr. Harvey, in times past, has forced me, an elected board member who came here by a lot more votes than he got, and I had to go down to the podium to speak. Heck, I could do that when I was just a citizen of Falls Township. Since 1952, I had the right to go there and speak. But I certainly didn't think that was right or proper to be ordered to leave my elected chair and go down there and have to talk whenever I knew that I had the right to do that. The problem is that they don't have very good legal compasses. So I've decided that I've accumulated enough now that we're going to find out about some of these Harvey-isms. You know, just because the emperor says so doesn't mean that the subjects have got to genuflect and kiss his ring. So we're in for a battle. I've had enough. I'm leaving this board on December 31st. My 5 minutes are almost up, so until they expire, there they are. See, I'm a good timekeeper, too. So I'll do the rest of my comments during the board comment time when he doesn't have a right to limit what I have to say.
For the record, Mr. Reese's son has been a township employee for the summer program for a few years now. So the idea that someone was fired so he could get a job is...
That isn't what I said. He was moved into the supervisor's position. Don't put the Harvey spin on it.
Yeah, well,
if you told the truth just once, it would snow on a day like this.
I'm sure.
Just once, tell the truth,
All right.
Harvey.
Any other public comment needed? No? Okay. All right. Next item on our agenda, the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes from June 7th and June 21st. We'll take them one at a time. Comments, corrections for the minutes for June 7th. Mr. Zipka?
No, I'm going
I can tell you
Mrs.
I'm
Wisłowski?
voting no on both of them, and I'm going to tell you why, and it's another thing that's going to be litigated.
I'm sure.
You can be sure. No, I'm just going to vote no on them. I don't intend to air legal matters in this public forum, but I noticed that there was very selective and a slanderous statement that wasn't true printed in these minutes, and yet all the other things that Mr. Acevedo had to say about your friends somehow escaped being immortalized in our minutes. And that's been happening all along. And we'll hear Snipes say what excellent minutes there are, because they never print anything that I say about what Snipes does. I'm still waiting for the IRS permission for Snipes to use our public access channel to advertise what's going on down at Snipes Farm. The law says there have to be papers filed with the municipality. I've been asking now for 2 months at least. I'm asking publicly again. The next time I make the request, it will be a demand on my stationery, and it will go to court. Now, there are other things, but I can't imagine. Mr. Acevedo wasn't even targeting me. He came home with me after the meeting. He said, I admire you. He said, you're the straight one on that board. And he said, these people that made those allegations that I made money when I negotiated the waste management contracts, I will give everything I own to anyone who can show I ever was paid a dime for doing all the good things I've done for this township. It's a way to diminish me because I keep taking credit for the money that they're spending. It flows in here. So the only way they could figure out after all these years is to suggest that they were ill-gotten gains by me because I was paid. That is not just a lie, that's a damned lie. And I'm not going to take it. After 47 years, I intend not to have any mud on the Wisłowski name, and there isn't going to be, especially thrown by these people. Now, that's what I have to say about the minutes. They're supposed to be a record of what happens at the meeting. Now, they said that I made a bundle of money and so did Dayton. I don't know what Dayton did, but he didn't negotiate those contracts with me. I don't have anything to do with Bill Dayton. I negotiated the first contract with Alan Wilson. The second one, none of these people were on the horizon. And that's the one that brought in the most money. There's $400 million. And there's a lot to say about those contracts because it has not been told. Only 5% has been told. I'm writing books. I have a home in Florida, and I am writing books. There are 12 of them in partial stages of completion. I divided them up into categories or different boards that I have served on or different things that I have observed. Like before I came to this board, we were paying that man and his representation for our township $48,000 a year to sit and talk to these guys in executive session, and nothing productive ever came out of those meetings. And that was the first nail in our former manager's contract. Wayne Bergman sided with me. Fatal mistake. He had to go because he wrote a letter. He had the courage to write a letter and say those meetings were unnecessary, and he agreed that they should be discontinued. That's $48,000 that could have been used for kids somewhere in this township. Now, I got called a liar by that man. I'm going to depose him too.
Bring it up.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking about you.
Mr. Wisłowski,
Solicitors should...
Wisłowski, if you have specific corrections regarding the minutes...
No, we're not going to correct them, we're going to correct them in court.
Yes, I'm sure, okay.
Because and I want to tell you something, I've got something to include in the minutes tonight. Let me finish, it's minutes. I am going to give a document to your secretary.
The secretary for the board.
She's not my secretary, she's your secretary in Snipes's. That's who she writes for. Now, this is going to be inserted in those minutes, and that is going to be the start of the lawsuit if you deny me the right to put this in those minutes.
Well, what is it?
No, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I don't answer to you. I'm going to read it.
It's not going to be included in the minutes if it's not...
I'm going to read it into the record.
Right,
don't sit there like a smug little punk because you sat here and said because I was making notes and I couldn't pay attention to the meeting. Let me tell you, if I sound asleep, I'd be more bright than you about what goes on in this township, Bob Harvey. Yes. So stop your snide comments and you won't incur my wrath at the meetings. Now, we'll move on. Minutes, and I'm voting no because they're atrocious. And they said that your friend, Mr. Kiernan, who you put on the zoning hearing board, and Jeff, you were there, he is in a building, nothing about that building, Reni's, the former Reni's pizza shop on New Falls Road, and he owns it. Acevedo was a tenant, and he said that Kiernan boasted that he controlled the zoning, he could get variances. There's an apartment above there, it's illegal. When you turn on something in the apartment, it knocks out the electric down in the restaurant. And those were all the things that were made public at the meeting. And the only thing quoted from Mr. Acevedo was, they said, Acevedo wasn't accusing, they said, the bad guys, that Wisłowski and Dayton made all that money. And then I said, did you believe them? He said, I certainly didn't. That's on the tape. It never made the minutes. And so, if or not their appointees are, monkeying around with our zoning, we're going to have to go to court to find out because the allegations were absolutely precise, and this was a man that leased that building. He was a tenant. And so I won't say more about it. I'll say it when I take depositions. But that didn't make our minutes. So compliment her again, Mr. Snipes. You do every meeting. She keeps all the junk about you out of the minutes.
Mr. Snipes, comments or questions? We're looking just at the June 7th meeting right now.
None, Mr. Chairman. Excellent minutes as usual.
Thank you. Mr. Dents?
No comment, no question.
No, I don't have any either. All right. Motion to approve the June 7th minutes as presented.
So made. So motion.
Seconded.
Mrs. Pullen, poll the board, please.
Mr. Zepka?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
No, and I wish to have a disc made of the June 7th meeting. When I have tried to tape them at home, I find that our township website has been down on 4 attempts. and I finally gave up. So I'm requesting publicly that I be given a disc of the June 7th meeting and the other one that we have here tonight.
21st.
The 21st. That's the most egregious one, the one on the 21st. And I need that for my lawsuit.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, folks, on the June 21st minutes, Mr. Zipko, comments, questions, corrections?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
The entire minutes are not the way they're supposed to be kept according to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania law.
Well, if you provide that law with us, to us, we
I
can
don't
certainly
provide
look-
anything to you, Mr. Harvey. It falls on deaf ears. I don't think you can be educated.
Yes, thank you for being so Christian. Mr. Snipes?
No comments and no corrections. And I'd like to appreciate Mrs. Pullen for the minutes she takes and for suffering through the meetings, but she does a great job.
Yeah. Mr. Dents?
No.
And I'd like to echo Mr. Snipes' points. Certainly, some of us have signed on to take certain amounts of abuse, others have not. So
Make
I
sure you have
apologize.
the request for Snipes' papers from the IRS in these minutes. It hasn't appeared yet.
If you would like to go on our website, it says we're a 50.
It makes me nauseous to
Says-
watch your website, Mr. Snipes.
Well, if you want the information, you can go look for it. It's
No.
a 501c3 nonprofit
Mr. Snipes, I
organization.
don't get the
If you-
information
if you
doctored
just
by you.
want
I
to
want
complain,
the
that's one
official
thing.
documents.
But if you want the information, it's right there on the website.
Mr. Snipes,
Thank you, Mr.
please.
Chairman.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented, June 21st, 2011?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Absolutely no.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the engineer's report. This is for June 2011. Date is July 15th, 2011. Mr. Sullivan, any highlights here? Hopefully some highlights.
Most of the highlights have been touched on this evening. The boat ramp is open. Whatever dredging issues we had have been resolved. The senior center and the community park parking expansion will both be out for bid in the next week or so. And the 2010 road program is now substantially complete. There are still some punch list issues and minor items that have to be taken care of before they go into the maintenance period, but the project is basically done.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan regarding his report? Mr. Zipka?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No, compliments to you again, Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Snipes?
None, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Dents?
No.
And I have none. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion to accept the June 2011 engineering report, which is dated July 15th, 2011? Motion to accept?
Yes.
moved,
So
yes.
moved. Yes. Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Dents, seconded by Mr. Snipes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill list for July 19th, 2011. Bills tonight in the amount of $1,776,123.41. Of that, almost $1.1 million is health insurance and payroll. Also included as in these items, the road program as well as the new playground at the Township Park, which is almost $200,000 by itself. Comments or questions regarding the bill list? Mr. Zipka?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
I have something to say about the bill list. A scurrilous piece of literature was disseminated by the corrupt Democratic Club here in Falls for the May election. I was a candidate for school board. I was nominated, but I'm having second thoughts for reasons I'll state later. But I was accused of being against everything that was decent in this township. While they used the money I brought in, they accused me of not supporting police, not supporting fire companies, not supporting ball fields, not supporting parks, and all of that. And it was just another Harvey lie. But I want you to know why I vote no on the invoices. I have begged them for the 6 years I've been here to separate the bill lists so that we can have the vendors and our staff and our police departments receive their paychecks. and put the pay-to-play guys and all the things I don't want to support that are going to cost us a fortune forever, like boat ramps and things like that, because they don't know what they're doing and they don't know how to spend that money. So if we could have two separate sets of bill lists, I would gladly vote to support those things which I agree with. But they lump them all together, have refused to do it. You see how happy he is with that gavel. Well, I was accused of not even approving flowers for deceased members of our staff's family. Now, that's the Harvey spin. That's why I call him Dorian Gray, because it's not true. If I vote yes on all the unsavory things, and then 2 years from now I come and I point out where the money was wasted, and they told you it was going to cost X number of dollars, but look how much it exceeded. Good example, last year we budgeted $148,000 for legal fees. We spent $275,000 for legal fees. It's the walnut shell with a P under it, like they use in the circuses. And that's what happens in this township, and that's why most of the time I'm angry when I'm here, because you can't tell the public what's going on, or else he'll use the gavel. Someday I'm going to stick that gavel in his ear, because I can't stand him depriving me of my right to represent my constituents in this township. I'm elected just as he was. He has no more power or no more right to say things than I do. And so when I got accused of not sending flowers, I said, I didn't know we send flowers. As a matter of fact, since I've been on this board, having been elected in 2005, I have lost 2 sisters and 2 brothers. And they all knew that my family members have died. Nobody sent flowers. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't need flowers. I don't want them. But to be accused of being indifferent to someone losing a loved one is like a barnacle on the bottom of the boat, and that's what I'm dealing with here. So that's why I vote no on all the invoices, because history will repeat itself. And there will be future newsletters from the Veslowski family that will tell you exactly what happened to the money when we were promised that it would only cost this much, and it ended up costing this much. And thank you for listening to me, especially you people at home who mob me when I go out to the grocery store. They are so supportive and so dear. They just don't know they're supposed to vote on Election Day and get rid of the bums.
Mr. Dents, comments or questions regarding the bill list?
None.
Mr. Snipes apparently is in the restroom. I think he just came out. Mr. Snipes, comments or questions regarding the bill list?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Clark, for the record, several years ago, you made a public promise anyone who had any questions regarding bills, invoices from your firm, you would meet with them at any time, any place. You would not bill the township to go over and explain any of those invoices, any of those bills. Is that correct?
That's correct.
At any time, has anyone who had an issue with any of your bills taken you up on that offer?
No, they have not.
Okay.
I don't meet
All
with
board
people
members-
that call me a liar.
Board
I don't
members-
trust him.
excuse me, I allow-
One-on-one.
excuse me,
You're
I
trying to
allow-
bail him out. I'm telling you, stick him back in the mud. That's where he
I
belongs.
allowed you to speak.
You did.
And attack me.
But you're doing.
Not interrupt. No, this is the problem with you. You interrupt me whenever I'm saying
Oh,
something. You don't
no.
want people to
We
hear.
can look at the tapes. I have someone who's
Go ahead.
wheelchair bound, and they have taped all the minutes you talk. They said, put a sock in his mouth.
Yeah. All the board members have access to all the invoices. They have access to this bill list. They can ask any questions they want of the professionals about anything specific at any time. And if they have a specific issue about a specific bill, certainly they could bring that up publicly at this meeting, which is why I ask for board comment at this time.
How
And
much do
can
we pay
have-
for that
and we can
executive
have-
session that you called last Tuesday? You're still doing that 48,000
Have an executive
gizmo.
session last Tuesday?
Staff meetings, I believe.
Staff meetings?
Staff meeting, and
that have
he's
been going
there.
on. The
And
staff
he often
meetings-
brings someone else from
The
East
staff meetings have been going on for over a decade, even before
Sure
I
they
was
have.
here.
They
The
don't
staff
know a
meetings-
thing about the township. He puts the words in their mouth, and
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs.
unfortunately, he's not
Kozlowski.
bright enough to tell them the right
Meetings have been
stuff.
going on even
staff
before I
meetings
was elected.
Started before we became the solicitor for the township.
And the Wayne Bergman, who was our best manager, said they should be discontinued, and he got fired for it.
Wayne Bergman was the one who, when we first started here, told us that we would be holding weekly staff meetings. Wayne believed that they were
Not
very,
true.
very important, and then
Not-
he was pressured by someone, he
Not true.
canceled.
You'll read the Bergman book.
And then Wayne would come to my office to hold those meetings because he thought that they were important.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
That's a
Clark.
lie, and you
No,
know it.
actually, it's not.
He hated
at
your
all.
meetings.
All right, so bills again in the amount of $1,776,123.41. Is there a motion to pay the
Don't flirt
bills
with
as
me,
of
Mr.
July
Clark.
19th, 2011?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Wisniewski?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, executive session, we don't have a reason for executive session. Manager comment, Mr. Gray.
Yes, just a few items. First item I have is a email from Gary Marjoram, president of Falls Fire Company Number 1, making a request for the fire company to be considered to have the cost of the permit fees waived for a roof that they are working on at the station. The board is asked to consider waiving these permit fees.
Okay. And Mr. Marjoram contacted me yesterday, indicated that they've been having some trouble with their roof. They need to make some repairs quickly, as is typical with things such as schools and churches and fire companies like this. If township entities like this, if they have work to do, it's typical for us to waive the permit fees. And so he put this very brief. I told him just to put something very brief in writing so we could have it for this evening. He apologized for not having anything more formal, but he's actually away on business at a conference. He was out of town. And this was what he could do. He couldn't do it on letterhead because of being out of town. So what we're looking to do basically is just waive the permit fees so they can do the repair work they need to do on the firehouse. Questions or comments from board members? Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman, we've done this before.
Yeah. Mr. Dents?
None.
Okay, I imagine there's a public comment needed. Is there a motion then to waive the permit fees for the roof work at the Falls Township Fire Company?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Next item I have is a letter from Richard J. Lemonowitz dated July 11, 2011, representing the Liberty Towers at 9188 New Falls Road, requesting an extension on time for this project until October 31st, 2011. The board is asked to consider waiving this extension.
What happens if we don't do this, Mr. Clark?
If you don't, the applicant will be forced to come before you before the expiration, at which time he is unable to meet the requirements of the application because he did not get zoning approval. The matter is in litigation both in Bucks County Court of Common Pleas and in federal court over the denial of them being able to place a tower at this property within
In the backyard of a
township.
residential property?
More than likely, if we were not to grant this extension, the failure to grant the extension, which would probably become wrapped up in the other two lawsuits. Right. So my recommendation would be just to grant it, let the two other matters work their way through the courts.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to grant the extension until October 31st?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Just a few announcements from the Park and Rec Department. They are now accepting memberships for the Pinewood Pool at discount prices. This includes family passes and individual passes. These purchases can be made at the Falls Township Municipal Complex Monday through Friday between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. The summer concert series is held every Sunday evening at the Falls Township Community Park, Phase 1 Pavilion, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The next two concerts are Sunday, July 24th. The band will be the Uptown String Band, and Sunday, July 31st, which will be Big Band from the Valley. These concerts are free. For more information, please log on to the Falls Township website and refer to the Park and Rec section. Upcoming special events at the Pinewood Pool include a teen dance on Thursday, July 21st. Teenagers 12 to 16 are welcomed, and the cost of the admission, the cost is $3 per teen. There are two upcoming family movie nights. One will be Saturday, July 23rd, which will be Shrek Forever After, and Saturday, August 6th, will be How to Train Your Dragon. Both movies will start at approximately 8:30 p.m. Members are free to attend the movies. I also have an announcement from the Falls Township Police Department. They will be hosting the annual Great Shredder event. This will be at the Township Building in the front parking lot on Saturday, July 23rd, 2011, from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Shred any of your old documents. This is just for residents only. Any questions from the public, please call Corporal Michael Wolverton. That's at 215-949-9000, extension 326.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have one item for you this evening. In November of 2009, the New Century Property Group, LLC, purchased the Pathmark property at 604 Lincoln Highway for $900,000. Shortly thereafter, they filed a tax assessment appeal, and after a hearing, the Board of Assessment Appeals reduced the amount of money that would be owed on the property for taxes. New Century Property Group did not agree with the assessment, and they filed an appeal on November 30th of 2010. They served Falls Township, the Pennsbury School District, and the county. As is a matter of course in these matters, when we receive an appeal regarding a property tax assessment appeal, we entered our appearance in this matter. Pennsbury School District did not enter their appearance, and as you are aware, in tax assessment appeals, we normally allow, or not normally, we always allow the school district to take the lead and take the laboring oar, because they have the greatest amount at risk in these tax assessment appeals, approximately 83% out of every dollar. The school district did not file an appeal because their review of this matter was that it was not cost effective to contest what was being appealed. In a conversation that I had recently with someone from the school district, they viewed the assessment, they discussed it with their appraiser, and they realized that what New Century Property Group was requesting was most likely accurate. So what we have to do now is we have to, since we filed our entry of appearance, the only way to resolve this is through filing a stipulation, and that stipulation would place the tax assessment for tax year 2011 at $98,100. And I'm asking the board for authorization for allowing me to execute the stipulation and return it to New Century Property Group, LLC, so this matter can be resolved. Just so the board is aware, our take out of this amount would be somewhere in between $6,500 and $7,000. The amount that we would spend on an appraisal and moving this forward would probably eat up at least half of that. And in light of the fact that the school district does not think that it makes sense to do that, I'm recommending that we don't do that.
Okay. Comments or questions from Mr. Clark regarding this matter? Mr. Zipka?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
I don't intend to pay him another dime.
Mr. Snipes?
So in effect, this is not withdrawing. just putting it kind of in lay terms, what are we doing?
We're agreeing on what the taxes will be for 2011. New Century Property Group recognizes that when the building is refurbished and it is transferred to someone, that the assessment will go up. Essentially, right now, the building is an empty shell.
Right.
Before it was purchased, the prior owner had taken out a lot of the HVAC and a lot of the other mechanical devices that were in the building, and New Century has gutted it while they're waiting for a tenant. They do recognize that once the building is refurbished, that the tax will go up, and at that point in time, there'll be a new assessment. But we're agreeing on what the taxes will be for this year and until the property is rehabbed.
That sounds fine, but all of a sudden I'm thinking of a question is this a typical thing? I know the building has sat vacant for a long, long time, but is this a typical thing where someone buys a building, they can gut it, then claim it's worth less, and pay less on it for some amount of years, and then come back and refurbish it, and then, so in other words, get a break on taxes while they're refurbishing?
Our understanding, it's not unusual because it means the assessed value of the property has been diminished. My understanding is, though, that the prior owner had gutted a lot of the building, and that New Century is doing some work on it, but they don't want to do anything until they know what sort of tenant they're going to have. I should also let you know, and I didn't mention this originally, but the proposed amount of tax, $98,100, is based on the fair market value that New Century paid for it. New Century paid $900,000 for it. And based on the common level ratio of 0.109%, the tax would be 98%. So they're asking that it be taxed based on what they paid for it.
So our position is basically we're going to agree with this new assessment.
Correct. And partially because normally the school district takes and I keep saying the word normally, the school district always takes the laboring oar on these because they have the most at risk. Right. We just usually enter our appearance so that any correspondence or anything that impacting the case is we're made aware of, and that we're able to benefit from any decision of the court. But it's the school district that has the most at risk, so they always take the lead. They don't believe it's worthwhile to do so here. They are essentially agreeing with the value of the property is $900,000.
So this document is called a stipulation?
Stipulation.
We sign that, it goes to the right place, and that's all we have to do.
And then it's over with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay. I don't have any comment either. I think Mr. Clark explained it very well. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to authorize the solicitor to execute the stipulation on this tax reassessment?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
I honestly don't feel very comfortable about all. I'm going to say no.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
I don't have any idea how much will be overcharged, and my vote will definitely be no.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
And I have nothing further.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Just a couple clarifications, Mr. Gray. The shredder event this Saturday, for anybody that has old documents, things of that nature, is only for Falls Township residents. Is that correct?
Only for Falls Township residents.
Okay, and it can be business documents, it can be personal documents, et cetera. You bring them, and the police officers are there, and they hire a company that comes in. They just throw everything in a shredder, and it's gone. So you don't have to worry about who's seeing it or anything. You can watch them do it. It's a great event. It's been going on for a couple of years now.
Approximately 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, and it's a fantastic thing. I see a lot of people there. I'm usually there every time they run it just to see, the people that are coming in. Typically, they also have a bike auction. Bicycles that the police officers have recovered over the course of the year, they auction them off. They're not doing that this year. I guess they just haven't had a lot of bikes.
They don't have enough bikes.
All right, so it's really not worth having it. So if you're looking for that, unfortunately, sorry, but we're not going to do that this year. And the other issue, the Pinewood Pool movies, you talked about 2 of them coming up this week and then one next month. This weekend, I should say, and then one next month. You did mention that for members of the pool, it's free. Can people that are not members attend?
Yes. If you're not a member, it's $3 for individuals, $10 for family.
Okay, so $3 for an individual, $10 for a family. Where you're going to see a movie for $10 and get the chance to swim as well. So that's if you're not a member, you can still attend. Okay. All right, that brings us up to board comment.
Can I have one more question about the?
Sure. Yeah.
You mentioned that the memberships for the pool are still available at discounted prices.
Yes.
What is the discounted price now for?
Half price
For Falls Township residents?
for everybody.
For everybody?
Yes.
We're roughly halfway through the summer, so if maybe beginning of the summer you couldn't afford a membership, it's half price now. So you can check in with the Park and Rec Department, check in with the Township website, get an idea of how much it would cost, and still have, obviously, with the heat that's coming up, might be a good idea.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Gray, do we have fewer memberships than we have had in past years?
No, actually, I believe we have more. We're doing very well this year in terms of membership.
Great, thank you.
So, okay. All right, go to board comment at this time. We'll start with Mr. Dents.
Yeah, we had a nice meeting tonight. We got a lot done, actually. We finally moved forward with the senior center, which we've been talking about as long as I've been here. A much-needed expansion over there. The expansion at the parking at the park. I'm down there all the time, and then you get there on a good day, and it's impossible. Sometimes early in the morning, there's nowhere to park because there's loaded with people fishing or walking. The ballpark at the boat ramp. And Mr. Gray told me earlier, we already have 58 residents that bought passes for the boat ramp. Is that right?
Yes, 58 members.
Is that total, or is that just residents?
To date. That's total. I don't have the breakdown for residents or not.
Can you send a list of the people who joined that group to put their boats in the water and their addresses where they live?
I would prefer that not be, if we want to share, break it down between resident and non-resident. I don't think people sign up for the boat ramp to have their addresses and given out to, people, so they might end up in a newsletter or something.
The crummy Democratic Club newsletter, and I happen to be a Democrat.
So
your cruddy newsletter that lies.
So certainly a
I
breakdown.
want the addresses, so I will come in and read the file, because we've been told that it's all Falls Township that we're servicing. And I want to find out if that's true. It's my money you're spending that I brought in.
I think a breakdown, actually, Mr. Gray, of resident and non-resident would be interesting.
I demand to see the records, so you better have them ready, or you'll find yourself on the wrong end of a lawsuit. And don't listen to him, because he doesn't understand the law.
This is Mr. Dentz's board comment.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dentz.
And it was nice to hear that the pool is doing well. This is the first year in a while that the township actually took over the pool again, rather than hire a management company. And it's very hot, and it's the perfect time to go swimming. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Zupka?
No, I have nothing this evening.
Okay, Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I wanted to just discuss the report really very briefly on an experience I had yesterday that I think I felt confirmed some good things that this board is doing, and also gives an opportunity, excuse me, for the board to have some participation in some regional cooperation with other organizations and other townships and municipalities. I attended a meeting called Building One America Forum on First Suburbs Inclusion, Sustainability, and Economic Growth. This was held at the White House in Washington, D.C., so it was a kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually go to the White House. And this was a gathering of people from, they're calling them first ring suburbs or older suburbs. The first suburbs built probably in the 40s through the 60s. And these are people that are coming together to talk about how to reinvest in the kind of community that we live in. This older suburbs, I think, hold about 35% of the nation's population. So obviously they're an important part of how people live, important part of the country. These are also the communities that have the most racial diversity and the most economic diversity of all the communities in the country. So it's our kind of community is a kind of community that provides opportunity for people from all kinds of backgrounds to live together, to work, to go to school. And the concern is in some of the older communities, I think it's not quite as true in Falls, but in some of the communities, tax bases are lower, infrastructure is aging, and instead of reinvestment in those communities, sometimes what happens is newer communities are built farther out that tend to be more exclusive and that tend to be harder for people of average income to move to. So we discussed infrastructure like roads, schools, police, parks, all those kinds of things. The highest level person there from the White House was the Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, who gave a very interesting presentation on transportation as it affects communities like ours. Obviously, people are commuting from our community to other areas. And I think this is an opportunity for us to do some cooperation with other communities that may be experiencing the same kinds of issues that we experience. So there'll be upcoming meetings. I don't know, I don't have the dates yet. There's a Southeast Pennsylvania Regional Association, and I think it'd be a good idea for this board to nominate someone to attend those meetings and see if some ideas can come back to us. As I was leaving the meeting, yesterday, I felt that hearing from other communities really has reaffirmed the work that we've done here, certainly in the past 10 years that I've been on the board, to reinvest in the community. I know we've talked a lot about how should our money be spent, but as other communities described their difficulty to invest in their roads, schools, parks, all those kinds of things, I really began to realize that we have actually been doing that. And then some communities that have aging infrastructure, we've really taken our aging infrastructure and we've begun to renew it. And that's exactly what we need to be doing. We live in a community where people are from all kinds of economic backgrounds, and yet we provide the facilities that are available to everyone, no matter what your income level is, which I think is crucial. So I really felt like listening to other people and the struggles they have in their communities, I felt like it really validated what we've been doing, and I felt very good about that. And I will commit to getting the information about upcoming meetings, and hopefully someone from this board can attend. So it was a great opportunity. It was interesting to be in DC always, and to riding in a taxi cab. Even the taxi cab drivers are talking about all the things going on about the deficit and the budget. So it's the heart of the country, and it was great that the White House invited this organization that deals with local communities to come and actually connect with the federal government, because the Obama administration would like to see the kind of reinvestment that we've actually been doing happening in other communities as well. So when I get more information, I'll share it with board members, and we can decide if there's someone among us who wants to attend these meetings. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mrs. Vazowski?
Yes, while you were there, I would have taken the opportunity to ask Nancy Pelosi and President Obama how many centuries it's going to take to pay the $14.3 trillion of indebtedness that this country is now enjoying. And the reason that Falls Township has been doing it right is we've had the resources from those tipping fees from the landfill, which no one else on this board, except this dinosaur, brought into the township. And you can't deny it, because I've got the documents. Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. You know, even the, oh, well, I don't want to get into that, because I'm making Mr. Gray aware that I need those 2 discs. I wish to have them this week, and I want that you know the dates, June 7th and June 21st, I think they were. And I need them because our site was not up and running. Yes, June 7th and June 21st. Please have it in the minutes and write it down so you don't forget it, Mr. Gray. Now, then, I have another request that's going to be in writing, and I shall send someone to pick up the information when it's ready, because I'm having surgery and I won't be able to get it, and I want the information within the week. Now, I also would like to thank the Falls Township Police. I had to call 911 the other night. There were some people on my property, and I've had it with the vandalism, and so I took the precaution this time. But we love our policemen, and I miss the guys because I'm not in the court and I don't get to see them anymore. As a matter of fact, when I was in the hospital a month ago, my roommate was the wife of a police officer whom I had never met, and she was certainly a marvelous individual. She happened to be a school teacher down in Philadelphia in the ghetto. I'm asking a woman named Paula Derby, who wrote to the Township and asked me to get in touch with her. Mrs. Derby, you're not listed. I've tried to find you. I can't. I don't know where you live, anything about you. There's a one-sentence request. Can you please tell me how I can get in touch with Supervisor Dorothy Vislowski? Thank you, Paula Derby. And I think that the email, well, this was put in my packet because I don't have email. And Mrs. Ruth sent me an email that my grandson in Connecticut found, and he said that there's a Philadelphia Inquirer trying to find you, Grandma. And I said, well, they know I don't have an email. I haven't used it for ages, and I'm not email capable. Now, there's some things that I want to make sure. Mr. Dents, the first thing I want to do is compliment you, because that thing which you did for the USO was one of the most impressive, heart-wrenching things that I've ever seen. I was picked up by a doc at midnight with his wife. I don't drive at night. And we went on the foggiest night I can ever remember over to McGuire. And we started to prepare the food. Doc cooked for all of those hundreds of returning veterans from Afghanistan. And they were so touched that there were people, citizens, that cared enough to come out and cook all night for them. And the planes were even delayed coming from Europe because of the fog. But Doc Kerner cooked every one of those meals, and I left there about 4 o'clock. I hadn't been, to sleep all night, and I just kind of wore out. I'm not getting younger. But I would like this board to consider doing something unified tonight, and I'm going to make a motion that we give them more money now, because these troops are coming home, and there's a shortfall of money. And I would like to see $20,000 go to them to match what you raised. You get credit for the 18-something that you did, or however much that was, and this 20, because I would not have known about it if you had not involved yourself. It was one of the most heartwarming things I've ever seen. And if you've not been hugged by hundreds of veterans returning home and so glad to be on American soil and so proud for the job they did for us. So I'm putting that in the form of a motion right now, and I move that we donate another $20,000 to the USO, Pennsylvania and Southern New Jersey. And I hope there will be a second.
With everybody that's coming back that has served us, and some of the other money we spend, I wholeheartedly second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Zepka. Can we put it to a
Comments
vote?
or questions? Mr. Dents, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I was very proud of it, the money we were able to raise for the queue for the troops. It was our first year, and the first time I met Mr. Kerner, he really is an amazing guy.
He is.
He could literally bring you to tears when he talks to you about what he experiences and what the troops go through, and all the work that him and the USO do for them.
I've seen grown men cry.
Yeah, and hopefully it's something that we can do every year, is that Queue for the Troops becomes an annual event here in Falls Township. The fact that we can do it not for profit is what makes it so easy for us to raise the
Yes.
money for them.
This is something where we all can be united. One of the neighboring townships, and I won't name them, but they were so inspired by what happened here in Falls that they left. There were two people there, a retired police officer and his wife who taught school. And they went home and said, we're going to do what Falls Township did. I said, call Jeff Dents. If you need his number, get in touch with me. But he knows how to do it and do it right. And they need the money now because we're bringing all these hundreds of troops home now. I can't even count how many eggs we cracked, hundreds of dozens of eggs, and Doc cooked every one of them, and he was as happy as a clam. I never saw such a dedicated volunteer in my life, and I thought to myself, God bless you, Jeff Dents, because you've made our township so proud by doing what you did. And he doesn't take credit, you know, he just was so thankful. And I would hope that every member of this board would decide to go next time Doc goes over there. I thought it was such a humbling privilege to be present there. And I see the need now, you know, a year from now, that we might not have the need, and pray God we don't. You know, maybe all our guys will be home. But they were just so, at first they were like hesitant. And then I said, do you hug 81-year-old grandmothers? And they started, and there was like a line of them, and they all whispered something thankful. And I said, someone else in our township started it. I said, don't thank me, I'm just here as a laborer. But
Yeah, I wish I could have gone. He put us on the spot. It was a little short notice.
he'll take you.
Yeah, I know. I've talked to him
Yeah.
since then. He told me all about it.
Yeah, he was.
The
I haven't
amazing part
even
about
talked to
John
him
is
since.
he's a chiropractor in Ben Salem.
Yeah.
This is something he just does because he can do it. Not,
And
you know,
he loves it.
doing it, yeah.
He
He's
was.
an amazing man.
I never saw anybody cook so much food in such a short amount of time. Well, it took hours because our planes were delayed. And then they brought them from the airfield on buses, and then they disembarked and started to come up through a line of Vietnam vets. Veterans from all the wars were there.
Amazing.
And it was just so touching. And I thought, this is such a good thing for us to be doing. And so I thought, I will go back and see if we can't get some money, because the need is now. So the motion's on the floor, gentlemen.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Snipes?
Will they approach us each year with a specific amount of
No,
money as a
they're
request?
grateful to
or-
take anything. They get absolutely no money from the government. Everything they do is through donations. And they feed every troop going out, and their last meal when they leave, their first meal when they come back. They provide accommodations for them at the airport in case they get held over or have to stay. There's a lot more they do. You know, Mr. Kerner got into it a little bit, but it's amazing to hear him going all the way into what they actually do.
I have so many addresses and phone numbers from, you know, when they arrive home. And I thought, these guys are just so homesick, and they're so appreciative, and they're so happy to be back with their arms and their legs. You know, they've been through a harrowing experience. And when I watch the news and I see how many people are still being slaughtered over there, and I think that's one way that our township can show that we acknowledge what they have done to keep our country safe. And I would vote any amount of money to give them, but I don't want to get carried away, and I thought that was a reasonable sum, matching what Jeff Dents was able to raise. And I thank you for opening my eyes, Mr. Dents, because I would have never thought of it.
Okay.
So we might want to think, if we want to make a donation each year, what we'd like to give, or for a number of years.
I don't think we should anticipate that. Let's pray to God that we don't have a war next year. Let's do it now. Strike while
No,
the
I'm
iron's
in
hot.
favor
Not
of it.
saying
It's
not
fine.
doing it now, he's talking about looking at the future.
No, but I don't want to donate every year. I want to assess each situation and do what's required, what would be the most helpful. That seems the most sensible to me.
Okay?
Yeah.
Other comments or questions? All right, motion is made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Thank you all very much. I'll thank you until Doc Kerner finds out about this, and he'll come here and thank you himself. And we ought to make a blue ribbon for you, Jeff. Now, I'm still doing public comment, but after that, I will skip criticisms. You all have comported yourself in such an honorable way here, I want to do this. This is a request that's going to go with the minutes, and I'm going to read it so it becomes an official document. And our secretary will not, would you hand this to her, please, Jeff? You can read it and see that I'm reading it verbatim, so you'll know that it's an accurate record of the minutes. It's to Betsy Rukoff, our finance director here in Falls, from myself, and it's on my own stationery. July 16th, 2011 is when I wrote it. As you know, I have been comparing the investment of the money I brought into Falls Township by comparing income from those investments with other municipalities. More specific, I am intrigued by the Falls and Tullytown investments since there are landfills in both municipalities. To begin with, I need copies of the agreements with Waste Management for 1995 and the agreement with Waste Management for 2001, which I negotiated as a non-board member using the help of Alan Wilson, who was then a supervisor in Falls. Neither of us were paid a dime. Those two agreements, which brought over $400 million to Falls, not to mention the $400,000 Alan and I persuaded General Motors to donate for the repair of Cabot Boulevard. I'm also requesting information about the third agreement, copied from our two agreements. I was told by Attorney Jennings from Waste Management that the copied agreement might never be implemented. Send documentation to Solicitor Clark, paid $50,000, and Attorney Kupperman paid $150,000 for copying work that Wilson and Vislowski did. I need to verify those payments, which Waste Management had to run through their payroll to keep Falls' legal expenses down. Our records should reflect this. We were not paid a dime for the two agreements in which Mr. Wilson and I participated. Neither did we receive nor ask for any payment from General Motors nor Waste Management. Please provide copies of the signed agreements that are in the township, and that's an ad lib, pertaining to the above. In addition, please provide statements for my review for the following accounts. Number 1, Pennsylvania Invest Daily Pool. Number 2, First Service Bank, Capital Reserve, HCF, and escrow. Number 3, TD Bank. I talked with them and was impressed enough to open an account with them. 4, First National Bank, A, money market, and B, U.S. government agencies. 5, A, Pliget Class, B, Pliget Class Plus, C, CD Purchase Program, particularly the police pension, and that's in parentheses. D, CD Purchase Program, parentheses, Park and Recreation, close parentheses. E, SEI Investments, A, Landfill Account, B, Police Pension Account. I wish to and need to receive copies of the most recent monthly statements as well as year-end statements for 2009 and 2010. In addition, if you are in possession of any investment performance statements or annual return calculations for these various accounts, please provide them to me as well. To do a thorough study, provide for me a list of all our accounts, parentheses, including account balances with contact information for all financial companies with which we are doing business. I expect to receive this information no later than 14 days from the date of this letter. In the event that I am hospitalized, I will make arrangements for Jack Dethorne or Alan Wilson, a former supervisor, to pick up the sealed packet for me. Thank you for processing this request in a timely manner. Sincerely yours, Dorothy Veslowski, Falls Supervisor. And that is the total context of this letter, and it's something that I should have done months ago, but when I realized that my time was running out and I shall be leaving December 31st and no longer be representing Falls Township, I thought I better do this now. So I thank you, and I expect to see it in the minutes, and I expect to have the information that I've requested. I've been quite specific so there can be no confusion about what I asked for. And I think I'll conclude my public comment tonight.
Okay, thank you. Just a few issues. We talked about the USO and echo Mrs. Veslowski's compliments of Mr. Dent's. As I mentioned before, it was quite an event, and I'm sure it'll be something we can continue on and make it an annual event, and it'll just get bigger and bigger. Unfortunately, sadly, in today's news, we see that there'll be one Bucks County soldier who will not be coming home in the manner that the others came home. A sergeant from Northampton Township was killed in action in Afghanistan. The latest in too many Bucks County soldiers to lose their life defending our country. Obviously, the thoughts and prayers of the township go out to his family and friends, as well as as they say, the thanks of a grateful nation for the ultimate sacrifice. Relating with just a few other issues, board members received, I think in Friday's packet, a map, color-coded map of open space in Falls Township according to the open space plan that was approved most recently. This is something that I asked the manager to do so that we could have it. We usually get a list, just sort of a list of properties and how big they are and who owns them, that kind of thing. This, I thought.
Excuse me, Mr. Harvey. Are there tax parcel numbers on them?
No. Well, not on
I couldn't
this.
identify
There's not.
them,
Well,
because I look for tax parcel numbers, and that's how I identify properties.
Well, there is. Obviously, there's a list we got previously which has the tax parcel numbers, and this obviously is something we can get a visual idea of where these are. So certainly something we can take a look at. We have about $900,000 from the county that we could spend.
$945,000.
$945,000. Thank you, Mr. Gray. So we can start looking at maybe some of these parcels, and if we want to purchase some open space, this might be the time to do it, considering the market for everything.
May I ask Mr. Gray if he'll send that list? I need that list to match it with that.
Sure, yeah.
Would put that with my other information, please. Thank you.
Reminder that there is no first meeting in August. We decided to go down to one meeting in July and August, as is typical, has been the case for several years now. So the next meeting will be August 16th, is that right? For the Board of Supervisors. And one other issue just to touch on, the morning that Mrs. Veslowski was helping out the USO at the McGuire Air Force Base, it was also an event here in Falls Township that I had committed to already, the Relay for Life, which is held and has been held the last few years at Pennsbury High School. It is a fundraiser for cancer awareness. There were a number of people there, cancer survivors, families of people who have survived cancer, are currently fighting cancer, and sadly those who lost their fight. Starts off with with a survivor's walk, which was great to see. All these people that have beaten cancer, and Congressman Fitzpatrick actually was there as well, as being someone who was beaten cancer and took part in that walk. This year's Relay for Life raised, I believe it was about $100,000. This is the most successful year they've ever had. It was wonderful. It was a fantastic event. Special thanks to a lot of the local businesses that supported them. Peruzzi, I know, made a very big donation and did a lot of support, a lot of other local businesses. But it's held every year. I believe it's always the last weekend in June. And so it's a two-day event. Starts on a Saturday morning, goes all night. You sleep on the field. Everybody has tents set up. It's very much like a picnic party atmosphere, and it's people walking. It's a walkathon all around the track at Pennsbury. And so hats off to them, to Mr. Fletcher, who organized it, all the volunteers who were there and made it happen, the people that work for the American Cancer Society, as well as just the ordinary volunteers from around here who made it happen. It was a wonderful event. And those people who have battled cancer, who have family members battled cancer, who have family members and friends who have lost those battles or won them, appreciate all the work that goes into that. And I want to thank them very much for their efforts. And lastly, just a note to people in the public. We know from the weather reports that the next few days, it's been hot already, but the next few days are going to be very, very hot. Hopefully we won't have the kind of heat waves we had like last year, going in the triple digits for multiple days. But keep in mind, with the weather being what it is, take your time doing activities outside, restrict your outdoor activities if you can. If you can do things earlier in the morning, later at night, try and do that. Look in on people around you, family and friends who might have some health issues. The heat always makes those things worse. Heart problems, breathing problems. It's always important to look out for each other and help each other out. Keeping in mind also, Mr. Dents brings up a very good point. Pets as well. Some pets can handle heat. Most usually don't do too well with it. So keep that in mind as well. You see we hear about people locking their tragedies, locking their children in cars and running into a business or something like that and coming out a little while later or forgetting about them. Unfortunately, it happens with pets as well. Just be smart, that's all. If it's real hot out, there's a reason they call it the lazy days of summer. Certain days, we had some nice weather. We had a good string of nice weather where people could do all kinds of things outside. But just be smart about the things that are the heat coming up, and hopefully we won't have a lot of it this summer. But if we do, just keep that in mind and be safe. Okay. With that, thank the board members for their comments and constructive criticism this evening and ideas and thoughts, and also thank the professionals and our staff here as well for all their efforts. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.